Hey, this is Drew Harden. I am at Affiliate Summit West this week in Vegas. Really incredible place to be this time of year, enjoying the people and the temperatures. One of the reasons we often have a presence at Affiliate Summit West is we love content and our clients want to get great content out on their websites, on their social media. They want to get more awareness because of this great content for their brands. So this is a great place to look at how search engines and AI giants are treating the content of our clients. So I want to share with you 5 takeaways that I had from this event. So the first one is generative AI platforms like ChatGPT versus Google. So when ChatGPT came out in 2022, Google was kind of on a red alert. Google was concerned. And things have shifted since then. Everyone still thinks of ChatGPT as this big generative AI platform, but in truth, over the last few years, Google has kind of leapt ahead of ChatGPT. And a lot of people just think is Google is search and ChatGPT is generative AI, but that's not quite the case. Google over the years has really slowly become more of an answer engine than a search engine. And you've seen that in the rich snippets it serves up or the AI overviews it serves up now in Google AI mode. And Gemini, Google's AI, has really gotten effective. And so we're seeing in a lot of ways, Google is outperforming ChatGPT. And so much so that famously just a couple months ago, ChatGPT kind of put out a red alert saying like, hey, we here at OpenAI are kind of concerned we need to start fundraising again and getting billions of dollars. So I think the takeaway here is, don't forget about Google. Google is still the top place people are going for answers. Google's search trends greatly outperforms ChatGPT still. So Google is still where it's at in many ways. The next thing that I heard a lot was the power of mentions. And this is something we talk a lot with our clients about. Back in the day, it used to be links. Links used to be the currency of the web. And that's how Google got famous is because of all the backlinks. And that's how it would basically rate web pages and decide what web pages to show when you did a search. And that's still important. Backlinks are really important, but mentions are important too. So basically just think, where can your brand, your products or services get positive mentions? Where? I mean, on your website, on your social media, on YouTube, things like that are important, but also what credible third parties can say positive things about your brand, because Google, ChatGPT, Perplexity, all these various platforms are now smart enough to know if someone's talking about you or your product or service, it's actually you. And it can give you credibility and more visibility. So the brands that are really making an impact now have a lot of mentions. So this is why we tell our clients, hey, try to get on relevant podcasts and talk about your brand, make more YouTube videos and talk about your brand. So it's not just text and copy and things like that anymore. It's also audio like podcasts, it's video like YouTube, and it can be images as well. So think about how you could get more mentions. Okay, a third thing is the struggle of publishers. So this has a lot of publishers at this event, and basically publishers are saying, hey, platforms like ChatGPT and Gemini and Grok and all these different platforms are now taking our content and displaying it for themselves. So that's obviously a big struggle for businesses that have all of their revenue based on content, based on what they write or what they create. I think the takeaway there is, it still is really, really important to build up your website and create content, even if you're not seeing the visits that you're used to. And that might sound negative, but if you think about it, the visits I think we're generally seeing now, the clicks that go to a website are higher quality than they used to be. Back in the day, you would post something on Facebook and you could put a link to your website and it would show up, no problem. Someone would click on it and they would go to your website. But today, when you link back to your website on a social media or elsewhere, the algorithm doesn't like that because everyone wants visitors to stay in their platform. So it's harder to get visits to your website, but the visits that are coming to your website now are generally higher quality because, if someone's doing a search on ChatGPT or something and they actually find some information and they do decide to click through to your website, they are very interested probably in your brand, your product or service, or what you have to say. So we're generally seeing at Blue Compass, time on page sessions and things like that being higher quality from traffic. So it's kind of a give and take. So it's sad if you're losing traffic, but it's great in some ways because the traffic might be higher quality. But it still makes sense to invest in your website. It's the one platform that you own. You think about something like TikTok that recently almost went away. You think about platforms like Google Plus that totally went away. I mean, if you invest too much in another platform, the algorithm can change. Or the platform could totally go away. So your website is still the place that you own, and you could totally invest in it. And it's the place you still want to send your target audience when you can. All right, number 4 is pay per crawl. So this is kind of an interesting model. AI companies, in some cases, not all cases now, are starting to pay some publishers to be able to crawl their content and then use their content. It's not very widespread yet, but there's a few platforms that are popping up where you can actually go to and you can sign up and you can try to get this going for your website. So mostly for bigger publishers right now, like websites that have tons of content, but there's more and more there's starting to be pushback on AI platforms that are just straight up taking so much content from your website and displaying it. So this is something to keep an eye on. And I think 3 years from now, 5 years from now, we're going to see a lot more of this where there's actually platforms that are going to have to start to pay to use your content. I know that sounds kind of crazy and extreme, but we're seeing more and more lawsuits and pushback on Google and AI companies and things like that. So that could be something that's coming. I thought was really interesting. Number 5 is the future of Google. So this is kind of interesting. I have generally thought that Google's future is going to be AI mode. And Google is really pushing AI mode. It's getting more and more to be an answer engine, as I said. But that might not be totally where Google is going. There's something called Google Web Guide, and some SEOs think that maybe this is the next step for Google. And basically the reason is this is kind of a little more traditional Google search type of experience, but it has AI throughout. And so it's basically, it gives you kind of like a link and an answer, but with some commentary from AI. So it's an interesting approach. And one of the reasons people think maybe this is going to be more the transition that Google goes to instead of its AI mode is because it's a lot easier to serve ads in this. And anytime Google can serve more ads and make more money, that's probably the direction it's going. So we don't know for sure, but it's something to keep an eye on. So there you go. There's 5 takeaways from Affiliate Summit West. If we can help you with any of this stuff, it can be really intimidating and confusing trying to get more traffic to your website, trying to get ads that actually work for you, and trying to make it impact getting more leads and sales and things like that. We can give you a really good digital strategy. We do this for clients all the time, whether it's for SEO or generative AI optimization, whatever that might be, or a new website. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'd love to give you a hand. Thanks. I'll talk to you next time.